Welcome to this session. If you can hear me, please can you? Oh, fantastic. So, okay, I can see. So, Sulaiman, you can hear me. Good evening, Toast. I can see Tosi. I can see Ibironke. Okay, you're all welcome. So they can hear us. For the next few minutes, you don't need to turn on your video. It's fine. Shegun is there, and I'm here. Can you see Shegun and I? Okay, so we're going to be talking about business continuity plan for the next few minutes. It's become imperative more than before for businesses. You can see how the COVID-19 took all of us by surprise. I'm sure January this year, we didn't all see this coming. But now that it is here, what have we got to do with this? How can we make the best of the situation? So the question I asked that made people to show interest was that, do you even have a BCP? If you have a BCP, have you activated yours? Okay, so let's go there. We have Mr. Shegun to take us through a few slides and his thoughts for the next few minutes. And okay, I can see some people raising up their hands. Okay, fantastic. So we can see Shegun and I. Okay, BK, I see you raising your hand. Nathaniel, if you have any comments, you can just type in the section. You can just put your text. Okay, so Shegun, I'm going to be running your slide. And then for the next 20 minutes, we can have you, then I go, and we can take questions. Maureen is not able to join us at this time, but for the maybe part 2, because this is going to be a series. As we know, for people that have a business continuity plan, it's in series and it has so many components, the finance components, the people components, and the process components and all. So we will start with, I'm trying to put your slide up. Okay. So
I think some people are having problems with the audio. They need to tap on the calling so that they will be able to hear us once they come in.
They do what?
They need to tap on the calling. You know, once you come in, once you get into the meeting, there is a button. You need to tap on it. It shows.
Okay, some people can't hear. Can you type in the comments button for them to see? We can see people can hear. Yes, both of you. Okay, so some people have a problem. Can you check your mic? So they may need, if you can't hear, you may need to check your own setting from your end, because most people can hear us. Okay, so Shegun, I'm going to go with your slide first, and then so we have you talk to us. Okay. So can you see your slide? So I'm sharing your slide already, Shegun. Your slide is on. Can you see your slide? Shegun, your slide is on. Shegun. Shegun, I have your slide on. Hello, Shegun, I have your slide on. Can you hear me? Shegun, your slide is on.
I think it's probably trying to reconnect.
Sorry?
I think it's probably trying to reconnect.
Oh, it's trying to reconnect. Okay. So let's him. Or while we are waiting for Shegun, I might just need to go for my own slide because of time. Shegun, are you there? Okay. Okay, some people are raising hand. You may need to type. Okay, Shegun is not online. Okay, so when Shegun, let me go for my own slide since Shegun is not here. Shegun, your slide is on. Shegun, are you there? Shegun is not online. Okay, I can see that he's not online now. You see, our world is being disrupted. Even this presentation is being disrupted, but not to mind. So let me start with my own while Shegun is on. So new share. So let's take my own slide while we are waiting for Shegun. Okay, so, okay, Shegun is back, interestingly. Okay. Shegun, are you ready now? Shegun, are you ready now?
I'm ready. Yeah. Can everyone hear me?
Okay.
Can we all hear me?
Yes.
I can hear
right.
you. You need to speak loud, but I can hear you. Okay, and I can see that I hear you.
All right, thank you very much. You're all welcome to this series. Basically, today we'll be looking at BCP from the perspective of how you can achieve resilience for your business. And like we know it, just some thoughts. We know that disruption is a fact of life at every point. On the next slide, basically disruption is a fact of life, and mostly businesses have to deal with this challenge. And when these things happen, most times people are not often prepared, like the one we have here. Most people are not prepared for it. Secondly, the fact that time waits for no one. We all know that's a popular saying. So when situations can be contained using standard procedure, you find that businesses lose a lot of money, which is what is happening now because standard procedures, known protocols are not working. And then the fact that businesses are generally unique in their own way, even when you are in the same industry, there are certain idiosyncrasies that separate you from the other businesses of the same industry or sector. And that comes to play in determining how you build resilience into your business. And of course, you know that running a business is also very complex. It's complex to run any kind of business, big or small, because of the amount of decision making that has to take place every day in getting the business to reach out to its stakeholders. And then, of course, is the need for every business to have something, a failover plan, so that in the event that things don't work the way you had anticipated, what are the alternatives that you can fall over into? And of course, on another slide there, you have, I just put these pictures that shows 7 buildings affected as fire got section of Balogun Market. Most people didn't prepare for this. They went to bed the day before, and by morning, their businesses are gone. So sometimes you ask the question, where is the place of insurance in this kind of situation? Or traders lament as fire got to the market. 2,000 traders affected by fire. And one collapse as fire got another Onitsha market, and so on and so forth. So this kind of thing shows that people are not always prepared. Nobody anticipates crisis in their lives or in their businesses. But these things are facts of life, and they do happen. And when they happen, what do you do? Or in the case of insurgencies that visit a local government and destroy everything there, and the people have nothing to show for it. And so basically rolling back on that, therefore, we ask ourselves the question, is this the first time the world is seeing crisis? This is not the first time the world is witnessing pandemic or epidemic. From about 1300, there was what they used to call very popularly the bubonic plague, or known as the Black Death. That alone killed over 200 million people between 1300, and then it resurfaced again around the 1800. The total people killed around the world at that time, of a population of less than 1 billion, that situation killed over 200 million people. Then, of course, we know about what we call the Spanish influenza, which also killed close to 50 million people. Do you know that sometime in the past, cholera was an epidemic? smallpox, measles, yellow fever, influenzas. All these were global epidemics until recently because they now have vaccines to take care of them. So, like we say, the history of plague is not uncommon to the world, and it's not unique to any tribe or race. It can weaken anybody, and just like we have seen in this recent history. In terms of economic costs, SARS alone in 2003 cost the world over 50 billion in terms of over $50 billion in terms of the damage that it made to economies of the world. And between the estimation of pandemics to the world in recent computation of World Health and World Bank is that it will cost the world 2.2% of GDP, or about $3 trillion. So the implication of this statistics and the visible impact therefore shows that there is no room for happenstance. Everybody must take intentional steps, make intentional commitments to be able to keep their business going. On our next slide there, we're looking at how resilience drives economic impact. So we see that some businesses, even in this crisis, some businesses are succeeding. Some businesses are moving forward. They are making progress and they are making money, while others are being weakened. For example, you see that we are seeing potential losers in tourism, aviation, maritime, automobile, construction, real estate, manufacturing, financial services, education, and a few others are on the tap up. Education is gradually tapping up because people are switching over to online studies and the likes, and that is going to become a big deal in the next world. Means of bringing back agriculture, e-commerce is driving a lot of sales at this point. And in fact, the only global billionaire today that is making money and adding wealth over the last couple of months is Jeff Bezos. He has added quite significant wealth in the last couple of months, over 2.35 billion, because of his e-commerce platform, because of the logistics, the integrated logistics that they have brought into their business, and they are able to protect their staff and then, of course, ensure there is delivery around the world. So that alone is having a lot of, is the only billionaire making money at this time. So then what is BCP largely? Well, when we say BCP, so it's largely standard and part of an entire risk management policies, procedures, and programs that we often associate with big corporates. And as we have the pandemic going around the world today, it has subverted most of the BCP plan of large corporates. And we are witnessing a lot of unemployment. America alone, we are hearing that close to 6 million people have filed for unemployment. We are hearing that there is massive revenue losses. And of course, we have a lot of threats around bankruptcy. So now the new normal is, how do you plan on the go for your business? How do you keep your business running on the go? And that's why we're here today. So basically, we are faced with a need to advance our BCP beyond what it is now, so that it can cover what's referred to as a pandemic, as the world is witnessing. So that means that beyond what we used to know of BCP, we need to now focus on people. Before now, BCP basically would focus on infrastructure, would focus on building, would focus on other real assets, but never focuses on human beings. So we need to know that human beings are the common denominator to all productive assets. So without human beings, there is less that can be done, because the decision-making process, irrespective of artificial intelligence, there is still the need to govern and integrate resources together. And that decision, whether at strategic level or at operational level, has to be taken by somebody. So now there is more focus on human beings. What is missing today in the workplace? The fact that people are not going to work. And that has crashed everywhere else in the world, and the world is making billions. If computer had crashed, we will all still be in the office and try to put files together. If buildings have collapsed, we will create makeshift. You see how China built hospitals in a couple of days, 10 days, some of them 100 days, and all that. We would have built those buildings. We have done some makeshift, convert stadium to hospital and all those things. Those are possibilities. But where human beings cannot step out, that is the end. The environment just collapses because there is a strategic goal in terms of decision making that has to be made, and that has to be made by human beings. So as far as business continuity is concerned, when pandemic occurs, is because it attacks human beings. The way it spread caused scare in the heart of people. Third is the fact that we don't have any established protocol. There is no established protocol for treating this. There is low level knowledge about it. And so it has created a lot of concern. So in terms of, it has beaten technology and every other service platforms. And so if we roll back before now, what is it that makes it even more challenging for businesses in less developed economies? In developed economies, most businesses will take up minimum insurance. But in developing economies, more than 75% of businesses do not even get into insurance. And those that even get into it at all, get into it because it is forced on them, either by their bank or as a result of regulatory requirements. And I think this is the time that businesses have to start to look for different kind of insurances, and then insurance companies also have to come up with solutions that can support businesses at a time like this. So, having gone through those overviews, what do you need to do as a small business? First is, like we have established, there is no single way to protect your business. You can't just say this is the one way to protect your business. There is no box for it. So every business has to do a scenario planning. That is where you need to start from. If this happens, what do I do? That is where it starts from. Now, that is what most small businesses don't take into consideration. Most small businesses don't believe that they can fail. They don't believe so because they believe that there is something that aligns them to another network that makes them to stay on as long as people buy their products. But when failure comes, they feel they can also start all over again. Now, every business has to go through a scenario planning. You need to understand, this is my business. How much does it cost to run it optimally? How do I run it optimally? And if there is a problem, what kind of problem would that be? And when it happens at all, it's at least optimal so that I can sustain revenue. Today, so some businesses are able to operate at 40% capacity, and they are delivering minimum services that help them to be able to meet their overhead costs. Some businesses are totally off because there is regulation that is stopping them from operating, right? But if those scenarios have been put together and had been planned by each of these businesses, what would have happened is that they would have prepared for the crisis that is coming. And you'd have taken decision about salaries for staff. What decision are you making about your people? Are you going to retain them all through the crisis? How long do we see this crisis happening? If it happens, how long can I pay salaries for? How long can I maintain them for? Do I need to cut salaries so I can reserve some earnings so that when this period is over, those become critical decisions that we need to take. And then, of course, is what are the value chain in which you operate within? Would that value chain be disrupted? If it's going to be disrupted, do you need to stock up? Can you have minimum production? Now they've opened the floor for essential commodity providers. So people that are in agriculture, people that are in food processing and the likes are able to work, are able to do minimal operation because the world needs food. So how do you get the minimum staffing or distribution of your staffing to ensure that you protect against the health hazard and still be able to produce and make the right revenue with minimum staff on a day-to-day basis? So those are the things that needs to happen. So that scenario planning is lacking in most businesses. And then the decision on how do I protect my revenue, what are my potential revenue, and how are they exposed to risk at this time? You need to be able to plan that into the scenario. So your consumers, what would they be needing? You know what they buy now. Can you plan that into the crisis that is coming? Most people will increase their purchase when crisis comes. Are you able to front produce in terms of fast forward production to the extent that, imagine that you are into, call it rice production, and you produce in excess of what is required now. I'm sure that everybody will be buying from you at this point, because government requires it, homes require it. What kind of delivery system have you put in place? I believe this is the time that all businesses will be connecting to the supply chain of distribution chain of the likes of the e-commerce companies, the Kongas. Now they're advertising logistics in terms of logistics, and it's becoming the big thing now for them in terms of being able to deliver to homes, right? So if you have connected to those, this is the time for you to actually rev up your business, and it gives you the chance to introduce new businesses when this period is over. As you would know, after the financial crisis of 2006 to 2008, new businesses came about, and we are going to witness new businesses after this crisis. You saw Uber coming about after the financial crisis. You saw Airbnb coming out after the financial crisis, and the likes of them. So we need to understand this clearly. And the essence of scenario planning is that it helps you to know how well you also understand your business. Most business owners understand the technicalities of production and what their business is specifically about. But the economics that govern that business, most of them lack. So it is time, when you do scenario planning, it helps you to understand the economics of your business, the financial impact and the economic basis and impact of your business, which is lacking in most small business owners. And when you get into scenario planning, it helps you to ask your questions that are around finance and economics. And when you do that, it helps you to understand the governing principles around the business that you run. So this forms a very great part of your BCP. And then, of course, is understanding your customers, understanding your processes, understanding your technology, understanding how your goods move from person to person, from your store to the final consumer, and every intricate part that plays a role in getting that product sold upstream or downstream. So, and then of course, in terms of employee planning, so you need to be able to know what is the potential impact of this crisis. Yes.
Sorry, am I on your slide? Am I following your slide? I think I lost, or you lost me at some point.
Yeah, you are behind, I think.
I'm behind, okay. So that people can follow what you are saying.
You are ahead of me. You're ahead of me. I'm on vital elements of operable BCP.
Okay.
Vital elements of operable BCP. Yeah, that's right. The second part, so like where it says, what is the potential impact to your supply chain? The next slide. The one behind this. No, behind that. Two slide back. Vital elements. Yes, you can stop there.
Okay.
So basically,
we have to be mindful of time also.
Yeah. So the supply chain is very critical. So you understand what are the things that can impact your supply chain. Today, aside health, the most impacted as far as this crisis is concerned is supply chain. So because people need to get products from farm to homes, to companies, to everywhere. So, and the companies that have gotten it right are the ones that are milking this now. So if you produce goods, where are the components sourced from? If you services, where are your employees located? What impact will this have on your customers? And these are questions you need to ask in terms of putting a document together. And basically, also in terms of when you do your scenario planning, it's also for small business, we know that finance is a big deal. It's always a big deal because you need to know your cash conversion cycle and maximize or leverage it so that you are not out of cash to either pay salaries, to run your cash flow properly, and then to keep yourself in production and make revenue. So that also has to have been planned into the system of production and what volume of liquidity you will need during this crisis and post the crisis. And what kind of relationship you have with your bank. Are you able to secure overdraft? Are you able to save up some money? What kind of creditor finance do you have? What kind of supplier credit do you have? All of these come to play when you have done your BCP properly. I am believing that we'll take some questions that will help us to be able to bring this into some operable essence. So in terms of the full business operation also, you ask yourself, what is the optimal staff I can maintain to get production going? And then how much salary can I pay during this time? So these are conversations that needs to happen between the owner of the business and the people that are employed. So let's say going on to the BCP, consideration for setting it out, basically. So there are majorly four critical assets that we need to consider. One is personnel. When you are writing your BCP and setting it out, the first thing you want to look out for is your people. I know that before now, most BCP documents, when you look at them, what you find is that you find them talk about infrastructure, technology, building, systems, processes. Most times it's as if the people part seem to be glossed over because it is assumed that labor will always be available. And we see today that labor is not as available in a period of crisis of this kind. So you need to look at personnel and plan it out very well. Look at supplies and suppliers. Look at the systems that will ensure that there is smooth supply chain even in the crisis. Look at where your backup plans, and then of course how you assess all of this together. So you need to identify critical processes, operations, and functions. These are people that must be in place within your business. Who are those people? Who are those guys that must always be in place to get your business going? So 2 is, what are the key internal and external dependencies? Those things that people or other businesses rely on you for. And then identify what else can affect your business beyond this. And then of course, you need to look at what are in planning these scenarios, what will happen once you lose 60-70% of the staff. Either that they say, look, even when you need your critical staff and they refuse to come because they don't want to expose their health or life or family, what are the backup plans for that? What do you do? Where can you source support? Where customers' demand are disrupted. Now, customers will trust people that are able to get food to them or any critical supply to them now. And when this crisis is over, they are going to tie on to those people much more than those that failed them in this time. So how do you keep your system of supply flowing to customers and maintaining your reputation? Logistics and transport are being impacted now. How do you ensure that your product still gets to the people? What kind of things do you need? What kind of protection do you need to secure to do this? So on the table, we've just basically tried to look at some basic elements of your interaction in laying out your BCP. So you have your stakeholders, starting out with staff, as we have stated. What kind of meetings will you have at this time? Because meetings have to be on the go with the people that are critical to your business, your stakeholders, your customers, your investors. So we have those mobile opportunity of Zoom as we are using it, free conference facilities. These are businesses that are going to begin to drive businesses from now on, because everybody has tried work from home now using all these facilities. So you need to keep on the go on your business, talking to all your stakeholders so that idea generation, innovation creation is happening on the go. And of course, in terms of your product, that now that product and services, because face-to-face services have been halted, how do you get product to them? How do you receive order? All of this, you need to be able to situate virtually and be able to implement efficiently. In terms of finance, we spoke about that, liquidity and cash flow. How do you manage that through this period? And then, of course, processes and aligned activity. And then, of course, what kind of critical skills do you need? What equipment have to operate optimally? Is there a maintenance plan for them if they have to be, if there is a fault with them at this time? So how do you keep that going and all of that? So at the end of this all is, how do you need to continue to educate your staff? So you need to be able to create a village meeting with all your staff at this time so that they can sign on to any platform with which you can reach them and assure them of the company's support so that they also can give the company their best in every way. Train them on working from home where that is important for your business, and then make facilities available for them to work. And then, of course, performance management becomes critical at this time for any business that will sustain itself after this crisis. You need to demand performance at least in the form that it's critical to the survival of your business. And then, of course, continue to find ways of automating processes. You're relying on technology for your supply chain, relying on technology for your meeting, and relying on technology for your production. So if you rely on e-commerce to get your product to the market, it will be a big deal at this time, because then that means people will demand more of your product. And then, of course, you need to track continuously what you are supplying, what you are producing, so that you use this intelligence to help the business when this time is over. And then, of course, we do know that every time people take time to plan through their business, what you find that is new innovation coming through from those businesses, the business is rebutting itself. That's what happens. So I have deliberately put this slide in here, resilience and wealth creation. I've told us at the beginning of the slide, if you look at this report that just came out, we are just trying to see which of the billionaires, as always presented by Forbes, is making money in crisis. Today, the supply chain part of Amazon is making unimaginable wealth at this time, making deliveries to homes, to businesses in minutes and seconds all over the world, in millions and millions of tons of cartons going around the entire world at this time. And so the kind of wealth that it's the only one having wealth, making more wealth at this time, while others are losing money at this time. So on a concluding note, therefore, we say that the world has changed and the way of doing business has followed in the same sequence. Planning and testing the resilience of your business is now a frontline requirement. Before now, BCP is at the back. It's not even thought about by small businesses. And even big corporations, they only write the document and keep it somewhere. But now everybody is seeking to activate that. So BCP is going to become a very germane topic over the next couple of years, because now we are seeing pandemic in a way we have not seen it before. It is time to make your strategy digital. You need to digitalize your strategy, automate your strategy, and make decision-making mobile. Decision-making must be mobile, on the go. It's not like when you close the business at the end of the day, decision-making about the business goes home to bed. Now it's about decision-making on the go. Innovation is beyond systems and infrastructure. It must be about the common denominator. People are the common denominator to all infrastructure, processes, and whatever it is that business stands for. And of course, every business success must take environmental sustainability seriously. Before now, when we talk about climate change and the likes, people don't see much of it. Now it is becoming part of our life that we need to take seriously at this time and even into the future. And then, of course, business continuity planning, disaster and business recovery planning, and of course, business resilience planning will be at the forefront for every business going forward. Thank you very much. I'll be available to take questions at this time so that we can actually make operable some of the questions that you may have, using this to explain some of the thoughts we have shared. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Segun. That was very insightful. And so I like the fact that you said, so we are talking about business continuity planning, which is like being proactive. So some businesses will not come back. That's the truth. It's not like a curse. So something called business recovery plan. So we're going to be also be looking at business recovery plan at some point. But today we are looking at the beginning of the general. We're just talking generally about business continuity planning. With time, we go into the details, looking at the different aspects, the financial aspect, the people aspect, and of course, we look at a sample BCP. So before we take questions, I'll quickly run through my slide, okay? And so I'll just add a little to what Segun has said, and this is what my slide looks like. Can we all see my slide? Is my slide clear to all of us? Okay, I've not started sharing, sorry. Okay, I just assumed that you can see my slide. No. Okay, so can you see my slide now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Can you see my slide now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, great. So I'll just quickly run through.
Yes.
We take general questions and see how to apply what we've been talking about. Okay, so so before now, a lot of people have plans here and there. And
Please, can you put it in a presentation mode?
Okay, if that
so
makes
it's bigger.
sense. Okay. Okay, is it better now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, so before now we have our plans. Maybe I want to go to the office next month. Some of us want to travel. Some people have meetings. For example, I had clients that already planned trainings for us and all that. In fact, a week to when government said we should lock down, we had our own plans, and suddenly this happened. Okay, so but now things are adjusted, things are disrupted. Now, more than ever before, we have a catalyst. We have something called COVID-19. We have a pandemic on our hands all over the world. Our world is changing. So more than ever before, it has become imminent for all of us to have what is called BCP. Before, we used to talk about the VUCA world. Now we have VUCAD. So please add disruption to it because there's a big component of it now. Okay, I have a short video. If I have time, I'll come back and play it. And maybe I could give it, short. If you can you see the video? And can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome. Okay, it's just a minute video on BCP.
Yes. We can't hear anything.
Oh, you can't hear?
Yes.
No,
Okay,
no
just
sound.
watch it. It's a minute. Just follow what is playing.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So it's very essential for every industry actually. Okay, so now more than ever before, we have to think it as a blueprint for keeping our businesses running. Disasters can come in any form. So Shagun has talked about that. So it could be pandemic like we have now. It could be natural disasters. Okay, it could be human error. If a staff mix up your products or maybe loses a document in the office, for people in the consulting world, if there's a mix up of letters, if there's a cyber attack, if there's an insider threat, do we have things for that? The interesting thing is it is really hard to conceptualize the importance of continuity plan, except when we have things like this, like you and I at home today. There are so many things that can happen. So we have to start thinking. And I'm trying to lay a component for what will be in your BCP when you are putting a document together. You have to look at different areas. You are looking at if there's a storm, my equipment, how does it affect, what will I do? If there's a theft in the office, theft of my equipment or money, what should we do? If there's power loss, something as simple as power loss. Power is very important to a lot of manufacturing company. If we have issue with power, what should we do? Okay, sometimes we just walk into some of these things without really having a clear document that is communicated that we can actually activate when we have issues. If there's a viral outbreak, so someone was saying that immediately we had a viral outbreak of COVID-19. Some people said in front of their offices, they put some wash and basin, they put, something as clear, as detailed as that. What do we do? So you look at all these areas when you are doing your preparing, putting your BCP document. So let's bring it home to our end. Let's look at what is, on our hands now. There will always be winners and losers. As we have this COVID-19, some people are coasting along with monies and all that. But some people are just like, so I asked some people, so what are you doing? Some people say, I don't know what I am doing. Some people say, I don't even know. Let's just pray. Yes, prayer is good. I believe in God. I believe, but hope is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. Even the Holy Book says, faith without work is nothing. So it's not just about hope, it's you having a strategy in place. This might just be an opportunity for all of us to look at our business model. And that is why it is called a model, something you can model, you can tweak. Okay, for people that have what is called business model canvas, it has 9 building blocks. As we are home, this is the time to start looking at the different components of your business model canvas. If you look at your customer angle components, can I start looking at a new set of customers? Like, I take an example. So a consulting firm, for example, maybe we do our training on site before. Now that we have a pandemic, I'm looking at my customer, I'm looking at my process, I'm looking at my partners of my business model canvas. Oh, we can actually use online now. We can actually partner with someone else now. So it doesn't mean that we have to really sit at home, but you can actually look at your business model canvas and start tweaking the different components to suit what is on ground. Yes, the truth is a lot of people may not operate 100%, but what business continuity does for you is you don't die. Okay, because disasters can actually kill, but we don't want to die. Okay, so I'm saying that please look at your business model. I spoke to a friend that is into fashion business abroad, and he said now that instead of him looking at winter production now and or summer production, that he has tried to look at his process, and he's looking at what he can start doing now on his process instead of waiting for that time. So he has to fast forward some part of the process and actually pen some. So what we are saying is, if you have a BCP, it helps you to look at the different scenarios and what can happen. So when you are developing this BCP, you can start with putting a team in place. Now, it doesn't mean that we need to have 1 million people. You have to have who is the leader of that BCP project. For people that don't have, if you have, good, congratulations, you can activate your own. But if you're at the stage of just trying to settle, because now our world is changing, BCP is should be like a very important part of what we have. It doesn't have to be like 100 pages. You can just put a few pages together. There are even templates available that you can adapt to your own business. Okay, so find the leader. For small businesses, of course, you know who the leader is. We don't need to debate that. Okay, so identify who will be on that team. And the different people of the team. We have the people that are the task-oriented people. We have the one that will be on the strategy part. So you have to identify where they belong to and who is doing what. Some people will not even be part of that team. Okay, you have to do what is called a business impact assessment and quantify you identify the different productions, different disruptions in the business, and you start training people. Okay, so this is just to corroborate what Segun has said. So when you start from your business impact assessment, you can do a questionnaire. Okay, for people that just starting, and if you have that time, you can start from a questionnaire and answer some questions that you need to look at. Okay, then that will help in putting the document together. But before you do that, you can even start testing. I give an example. 3 or 4 weeks ago, when this pandemic broke out, in fact, in my mind, I was already having meetings. Segun kept saying about communication. Even with my small team, we kept having meetings in the office. And I gave them scenario. I said, do you know some of the trainings that we are scheduled to have next week up? Do you know they can cancel? Honestly, I didn't know that they were going to cancel, but I was already looking at they can cancel. So if they cancel, what do we do? And I said to them, yes, maybe to get to a state, we don't need to start coming to work. So we started working from home. So we took a day off that 4 weeks ago to work from home. And I wanted to test what it will be like for this intense to even join what we have. Okay, so we started practicing having our meetings online instead of coming to the office. We started looking at what are the things that can go wrong. So it's also testing and exercising, and before you adopt the document, you may want to do some testing around it, but it's how it will work for you. Please, can we all mute our mic? Someone's mic is distracting us. Everybody mute your mic, please. Okay, so you have to look at business continuity planning cycle. So that was just what I explained to us. So I can make us, let me give us a sneak peek into what the sample looks like. Then we can take it further from there. So I'll just show you a typical sample BCP. And so you see how that works for you. Okay, let me show you what might be in some BCP. Which one am I showing? Okay. So for example, this is a company's BCP. What they've done is to put a date that, you know, so they are looking at, and you can revise it from time to time. So you set a goal around it. What's the purpose of this BCP? Okay, what are the different components? All the components that we have spoken about. Okay, who are the key people in the different, you know, we spoke about employee. I'm just going to scroll fast so that you can see things that you have to put in your plan. Okay, but this has to be tailored. What you have in your BCP will vary from one business to another because you have to, so there are different levels of approval, there are authorities, there are what you need to look at. Can you see the template I'm showing? Can we see the template? Shegun, can you see my new template?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
Yes,
fantastic.
yes.
I just want to, so you have to plan location. If something happens, office location, if there's a disruption, where do we work from? If I'm a fashion designer and so suddenly there's a fire outbreak, what should we do? Now there's a pandemic, people can't produce. Should I have one person work from my house with me? Do I have a small machine at home? You know, there's some things that you just have to ask ourselves. So I was just trying to scroll through what a template might look at, and you know, you have to define your terms. It's good to also share that kind of document with people that we think are important. Remember, I also said that there are different parts of your team when you are setting up your BCP, if you are putting it together. And remember, for small businesses, maybe a team of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have to put on a lot of the caps yourself. So thank you very much. And that's where I would want to wrap up my own part of this presentation. Okay. So I said, let's take it further. I'm sure it's not a 30 minutes, a 1 hour kind of discussion. Okay. So we can have your questions now. Thank you very much. Okay. So
thank you very much.
Questions. You can type in your questions so that we can read the questions. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have your questions. You can also send your questions. So you can also send your questions for the ones we can't take now. Some people already sent some questions to us, which we'll look at. Yeah. So while we're waiting for you to type a question, I sent a question to you, Shegun. So you want to read out the question and address that while we're waiting for others.
All right, so you can read it out. I have it here so that they can hear it.
Sorry?
Take it.
Okay,
I think you should read it out so they will hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that they will all hear.
Okay, so the person said that, okay. He said, hello, Susan. Thank you for your time in trying to provide knowledge during this lockdown period. Okay. BCP is one method that can allow control of threats, disaster, or challenges in an organization. At what point is BCP most important in an SME company? Okay, which is more important to pursue, BCP or revenue? That's number 2. Looking at scarce resources that are available to SME. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. So the first question is basically, at what point is BCP important for a business? So at the point when you are writing your business plan, I don't know how many small businesses start with a business plan. You know, most people just wake up and feel, oh, this is my passion, and then they get into it. But you never see every business that I've ever started in the world started as small businesses. The biggest businesses we're talking about today, they were small businesses some time ago. If you look at when, after in fact, the biggest corporations of the world were businesses that started during crisis. And that's because when they were doing it, they planned out a lot of things. And they never left a lot of things to happenstance. For example, I'll give you an example. IBM, General Electric, for example, in 1890, he was doing a world crisis. IBM, 1896, he was doing a crisis period. Disney, 1923, he was doing a pandemic. It was after a pandemic that Disney World started, because at that time people were not willing to go out. After the 1900 to 1906 crisis, people didn't want to go out of their homes to gathering. So Disney started at that time, and it kept pulling people to see funny things. Burger King, 1953. 1975, Microsoft, and then 2001 was during a financial crisis as well. And you have Apple, and then CNN that we all love to see today, 1980. These were businesses that started in crisis. But one thing is that as you are doing the business planning, you also have to write a document of business continuity, because you are not in charge of crisis. Now, when you write, if a good strategy document, a good business plan document will ask you at least minimum, if you use what, it will tell you the strength of your business, the weaknesses your business would have, the opportunities and the threats. So it's at the point when you note the threats, right? The threat and the weaknesses, they draw you to business continuity. They draw your attention to business continuity. What does that say? It says that at the point when you are planning your business, you need to also look at those areas of how do I contribute. Given that knowledge, therefore, I would like us to do a survey, and I would just want it to be 1 and 0. How many of us are online? How many people do we have online? Do we have an idea? I know over 50 people registered. I don't know if all of them are able to attend. So if for a minimum survey, if you have a type 1, if you don't have a business plan, you type 0. We want to just do that survey. We need to start using this information to also help ourselves. So if you have a business plan, type 1. If you don't have, type 0.
Okay.
And let's be genuine about it.
Set up a survey.
So people are responding. Yeah.
Fantastic. I can also do a survey while we are on.
So while that is going on, I'll be responding to a question. So if you don't have a business plan, you need to have that business plan today. This is a period for you to have a business plan for your business. It's a good time for you to do it. Secondly, the second question why this is going on, how many of us have reviewed our business plan in the last 18 months? How many of you have reviewed I'm doing that, 18 months is such a long time, but just to be fair to all, how many of you have reviewed your business plan in the last 18 months? If you have done that, you will type 2. If you have done that, if you have done your review of business plan, you will type 2. If you have not done it, you will type 2A. If you have not done it in the last 18 months, you will type 2A. If you have done it, you will type 2. Then number 3 question is, how many of you have a strategy document? If you have a strategy document, you will type 3A. If you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a strategy document, sorry, if you have a strategy document, you will type 3. If you don't have a strategy document, you will type 3A. If you have a strategy document, you will type 3. If you don't have, you type 3A. And then finally, if you have a business continuity plan, you type 4. If you don't have, you type 4A. We'll just stop there. Why that is going on? So at the moment you are conceiving your business, it is when you start to write your business continuity plan. because that is what safeguards you against loss. Most businesses that die, even when there are no pandemics or epidemics, most small businesses that get to be destroyed or cannot be run efficiently, the reason is that there is no continuity plan. So there is nothing to go and look at. Now, just to add one more question, how many of the businesses is meeting your expectation? Let's be sincere, it's meeting 50% of your expectation. All of us are online, are running business now. How many of our businesses are giving us minimum 50% of our expectation as at date? How many of them are giving us, as we've been running them over the last how many years? How many of those businesses are meeting at least our expectation up to 50%? If your business is meeting your expectation up to 50%, you type 5. If it's not, type 5A. So that's where we stop. So we got it right. And then finally, so we established the fact that we need to write a business plan and do our business continuity and do our strategy document when we are starting, so that there is something to always look back into whether you are running business right. Now, the second thing is somebody asked a question around money, finance. This is the biggest challenge we always hear about small businesses. So how do you plan? So the question I'm going to ask is, how many of us have a cash conversion cycle? How do you know? How do you make money? Do you know the cycle in which you make money? If you are into production, what's your cycle of making money? Have you established that? So in every night, some people have cash conversion cycle of 30 days, some have 60 days. What is your own business cash conversion cycle? If you know, type 6. If you don't know, type 6A. Do you get that question? So if you know your cash conversion cycle, type 6. If you don't know, type 6A. So these are critical things. So, and once you don't know, it will bring challenge to the finance of the business. That is where the challenge of financing a business comes from. Whether you are into consulting or you are into production, once you don't understand your cash conversion cycle, you would always face lean finance because you will be spending money that you are not making. That is what happens to a lot of business. So even though you have cash flow, it doesn't mean you are making money, because if you don't have a clear path of cash conversion cycle, you'll be spending the money you are not making. You'll be borrowing, you'll be taking loans, you'll be taking from friends and putting in that business. So it is very important, therefore, in terms of finance, you need to have a deep understanding of financing. Anybody that runs a business, even if whether you have a CFO or not, apart from understanding the business, the next thing is that you must understand finance yourself. You must, anybody that's a business owner, don't just know the business. Strive to understand finance, how it works, so that you know when you need to take a loan, so that you know when you need, what kind of loan do you need to take. Some people go to banks and they take a loan that destroys their business because they took the wrong loan. Some people need a lease. They want to take a term loan. They want to take an overdraft, and it destroyed their business because it is not aligned to their cash conversion cycle. And so it disrupted the entire business and they are out of business. So second is, and I'm going to ask, I'm using this to ask questions. The next question I'm going to ask is, how many of you make alternate investment outside of your business? So you have a plan that when I make ₦1, I must invest in an alternate source that is liquid. It should be part of your strategy and business continuity plan. How many people have a plan where you invest in an alternate liquid asset? It is something it's not like you are doing it by any time it comes to your mind. You are doing it according to the plan of the business. If you are doing that, type 7. If you are not doing it, or if you have that plan, type 7. If you don't have that plan, type 7A. If you are doing it, type 8. If you are not doing it, type 8A. So if you look at all of these now, you'll find that most of the people we are going to have the people that are not doing it. And it's not your fault that you are not doing it. And that is why this structure that we have set up is to provide support to businesses so that we can build strong businesses that can be the pride of the nation. Because if you don't have strong small businesses, unemployment will reign in the society. And the hope of any nation is small businesses. Today in Nigeria, we have over 32 million registered small businesses, but we don't even have up to 5% of them that are running optimally. And that is because of the lack of all of these things that we're talking about. So it is time for us to take advantage of this opportunity to build our businesses, to ensure that we are on track and our businesses are meeting our expectation. So finance planning is a deep thing. We are going to, as part of, like Funke said, we are going to be talking about BCP, finance, BCP strategy, and a lot of other areas. We are even coming to business recovery, disaster recovery as we go along. I can see somebody on the platform is a strong disaster recovery person. Philip Keshiro, I saw his name scrolling. He's a well-known BCP disaster recovery person. I'm hoping that we'll tag you along in this program. So thank you very much. I hope we have been able to deal with that question. I don't know if that is something that makes sense to us.
Okay. So there's
I hope we will share the survey outcome.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Shegun. Because of time, I can see a few other questions there. But let me just quickly roll as we round up. We may need to come back to them, maybe offline, to discuss some of these questions. So you can reach out to us offline. And like Shegun said, we're going to have series, because this is just a general session. This is an intro to BCP. We're going to have them in details, looking at the different components of BCP and looking at probably if you want to write one for your company, what does it entail? What should you really look at? So I'm just looking at some questions here. I'll read all of them. So Shegun and I can quickly gloss over them. And the ones we can't address, we take them offline. So someone said, as a fashion designer, like you mentioned, okay, like I mentioned, is it right to start asking clients for work immediately after the pandemic is over? Won't it sound somehow? And what other means can the business be managed during this period? I think what this person is trying to look at is the customer component of the BCP. Okay, so although the person being related to a BCP, because BCP is actually proactive, it sounds like a business recovery plan. Okay, so this question that you just asked now actually has to do with a business recovery plan. Okay, so maybe the person has lost customers during, and the person is looking at how can I connect back with my customers. But if you look at it from the proactive angle of a BCP, there would really be a way to address it. But I've taken note of your question. So another one is, I want to believe that a BCP can work only if you have a working business plan, an active one. I just started a children tourism business. You went to be in Abeokuta, but I knew I had to cancel for business like us. What do we do? I'm not sure I really understand why the person canceled. Okay, so you may want to clarify, but Shegun, if you get that, he said, I just started a children tourism business. Beware, well, I think beware to be in Abeokuta, but I knew I had to cancel for business like us. What do we do? It would be good to know why you canceled so we can address how to tackle that question. Okay, but we'll look at it from BCP. Then another question is, okay, let me see. Well, I'm scrolling down to get most of the questions. And like I said, people can just reach out to us. But if you look at it, that a BCP is proactive, a business recovery plan, it's a kind of reactive. But they are not out of place. Businesses need to have those plans. I'm sure when we go into details with some of this, so I have really gained a lot. Thank you. We noticed that made a lot of sense. Thank you, sir. Can you share the record or register participant? Okay, we start to talk about that. We're actually recording and we try to test live. So I've been trying to take it live to also do a pilot with that. Maybe for network, disruption, it's just hanging in there. Thank you, Shegun and Susan. It would be nice to have the recording link. Okay, I've heard that. Shegun and Fumi for the prayer. You're welcome. Thank you. We are great. Can you have the slides? Okay. So thank you all for joining us at this session. At this point, we have to end the meeting, and we will sure invite you. We notify you when we have. This is time to be innovative, customers. Yes, you are absolutely right. And this is the time. But one thing I need you to take with, for people that have a business model canvas, please take your business model canvas now and start looking at them. Start looking at your customer and start modeling them to suit the current situation. Okay, so what can I do? Where do I move? Which part of my customer component, for example, can I move? What can I start doing? What offering really relates to them? What partners do I need at this time? Okay, and it has to be very dynamic. So thank you all. Send mails to us and we will take it from here. And when we want to treat the different part in details, we will sure let you know. Thank you for joining us. See you some other time. Bye. Bye. So I'm ending this session.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. God bless.
Yeah.